Good morning. Good morning. It is Fed Friday, or you can say Fabulous Tuesday. We are re-recording the video from from July the 28th, from Friday, July 28th. Many of you sent us emails and chats that you could not hear me clearly. And so we're going to re-record it and make sure you get the pertinent information that you needed from last week. Fed Friday. So we're going to get started. As you know, we always have our disclaimer that this seminar, this webinar, this Facebook Live is presented in a generic approach. And so our whole purpose today is just to give you some information. Each person's situation is different. So of course you are entitled to a one-on-one with us. And so we look forward to assisting you. We're going to get right into it. As you can see at the bottom of the screen, that you can like us on Facebook at Your AB Solutions and at RitaBRolandEvents.com. You can go register, share this with your friends and your coworkers so that more people can be informed about their information. And you need to register every week for Fed Friday to have it in the webinar series. So some questions to consider. What is your retirement replacement income? One of the things that we help people to do is to understand what money will they need in terms of retirement replacement income. How much money do you need to comfortably retire? And what's comfortable for you may not be the same for someone else. So you have to always know what is your number. Will you ever run out of money? You know, one of the biggest fears for most people is two fears. One is speaking in front of people like what I'm doing, even though I don't see you. I know that you're there. The second thing is people are afraid that they may just run out of money because we're not dying early anymore. Many people are living to their 90 years old, and so your money has to last as long as you do. What happens with your spouse retirement income if they pass away first, or vice versa? If you go first, you need to know what happens when one goes before the other. And what are my retirement income sources and expenses? What are my income streams? So whether it's from your CSRS, your FERS, Social Security, thrift, you may have an outside IRA, a Roth IRA, you may have been saving something in your mutual fund, stocks, or just in your account. You may have real estate income. What are your sources and what are your expenses so that you can make sure that your outflows are less than your inflows? And will I be able to afford my long-term care expenses if I cannot perform 2 out of 6 of my active daily living? So you got to make sure that you have a plan in place. And how much life insurance do I need, and what type is best for me? And of course, what I'm going to do with my inheritance. So we need to make sure that that is in place for you. So let's talk about your outline today. Today we're just going to talk about the first one. And we're going to talk about CSRS, CSRS offset, FERS, and comparison. So we're going to talk about the civil service system. So give me a second. Screen is stuck, I tell you. So we're going to talk about these things later on. Today, we're just going to deal with the first one. So let's look here at the civil service system. As anybody who was hired before 1984, and anyone who did not elect to switch over to the FERS during the open season in 1987 and in 1988. We then have our civil service offset. And these are employees who had worked for the civilian side, the federal or postal. They were working under the old civil service system. They worked for at least 5 years. They decided to leave the government, and then they came back in. And when they came back into the government, they were out of work for at least 1 year, and they came back after 1 year and 1 day, but they came back into the FERS system. So because they had 5 years prior under the old system, they were considered offset, and they were paid both into the Social Security system and to the retirement system. The last system is the FERS, and these are employees who were hired after 1983, and retirement system is part of the expansion of Social Security. As we'll see in a minute, they have a 3-tier system. So, and of course, there's any employees that were under the old system that opted to elect to switch over to FERS during that open season. There are 3 levels, as I just discussed. The first one is your basic, your benefit, and that is your federal employees retirement system pension. The second is thrift saving plan, and the third is Social Security. It's very important to note that FERS employees will not receive a COLA until age 62 unless you are a special police officer, firefighter, air traffic controller. Any special retirement system people will receive cost of living prior to age 62. So there also is a FERS revised annuity, so which we'll see in a minute that FERS employees pay a certain percentage into their retirement system. However, any FERS employees hired in 2013 will be paying 3.1. Anybody hired in 2014 and after will be paying 4.4%. So it's important for us to know that part. But let's look here at this chart. This chart is going to show you what a FERS employee pay into their annuity is 7%. What they pay into the Medicare is 1.45%. What they pay into Social Security, as you can see here, is 0. They do not qualify for Social Security from their civil service job. And their total that they contribute is 8.45. If they are law enforcement, firefighter, or special air traffic controller, they pay 7.5% into their system, as you can see here. Offsets pay 0.8 into their annuity, 1.45. They do pay into Social Security because it's part of their retirement system for a total of 8.45. Now, for a FERS employee hired prior to 2013, theirs is also 8.45. If they were hired in 2013, theirs is 10.425. And if they're hired in 2014 and after, it's 12.05. Now, if you are law enforcement, as you can see, you pay 1.3% if you came in prior to 2013. If you came in after, you're paying 3.6. So the system was changed for everyone. So for anybody that came in 2013, 2014, under the FERS revised annuity, everybody can contribute up to $18,000 unless you are over 50. You can add an additional $6,000, totaling $24,000 of pre-tax money into your thrift saving plan. As we see here, both civil service or civil service offset, you do not get any matching funds. Matching funds are for FERS employees only, and they are fully vested after 3 years. So what it means is that for you, the agency will contribute 1%. Whether you participate or not, the agency is going to contribute 1%. The other percents 1 through 3 that you give, they match that dollar for dollar. So they've already given you 1, then they add 3 more to it, that's 4. When you give dollars 4 and 5, you gave $5. They're going to give you 50 cents on the $4th, 50 cents on the $5th, but because they automatically gave you 1%, it's a true 5 to 5 match. All righty. Now you can participate in all 6 funds. What do you need as a FERS employee to retire? How many years? So if you age 62, you need 5 years. Age 60 with 20, and age 55 with 30 years of service. As we talked about earlier, if you have a special provision, air traffic controllers, firefighters, or law enforcement, they can retire at any age with 25 years of service, or age 50 with 20. We will break down the numbers soon. For FERS employee, you can retire age 60 with 20 years of service, age 62 with 5, and MRA with 30. And it's one of the things that many FERS employees do not know what their MRA is. Some of them don't even know what MRA stands for. So today we're going to give you what it stands for and what it is for you. It's important that you know when you can retire, because one of the biggest things that we talk about, and I don't have a copy of my book here, but I will show you in the book, the first chapter is like, it talks about, what about Bob? Many of you, your human resources department are your coworkers in the next cubicle or your boss. But if they're under a different retirement system, and if they're under FERS, or if they're under offset, or if they are not in the same age as you are, everybody's retirement system can be totally different. So it's important for you to know what it is for you based on your own numbers and not your neighbors. So, of course, you can retire early with MRA 10, and for a special provision, you can go at age 50 with 20 years of service, any age, and with 25 years and no reduction for age. So let's look at some other numbers here. For MRA, what is it? Stands for minimum retirement age. You have to have this age with your 30 years of service. You can't have one without the other. So if your minimum retirement age, let's assuming you were born in 1952, you can retire at 55 and 10 months. So you got to have 30 years with 55 and 10 months. Anybody born between 53 and 64, it is 56. So you can retire at age 56. Now, you can be age 60. If you were born in a great year of 1966, you can retire with 56 and 4 months. And anybody retiring after 1970, you can retire at age 57. So let's assume you and your coworker, you guys started on the exact same day. One was born in 1948, one was born in 1960, and the other one was born in 1973. I don't know how that started, but if you all started the same day, your age of retirement for your 30 years is totally different, and even though you're under the same exact system. So it's important to know what your MRA is and not what is your neighbor. You can also have an early out if the system is having an early out, and the early out is any age with 25 years of service, age 50 with 20 years, and it's a reduction of 1/6 of 1% for each full month, 2% per year for any employee under age 55. And for FERS early out is age 50 with 20 years, any age with 25, and no reduction for age. And what do they consider your service time? I want to make sure I'm staying within my time limit. So, tell me. So she'll let me know in a minute. I want to make sure I stay in time. Perfect. So any time that's considered for your civil service and FERS, what do they count? Your time between your start date and your end date that you paid into the system. Any leave without pay up to 6 months calendar year. Any workman's compensation, but you return to work. If you do not come back to work, some time will not be counted. Part-time service, full credit prior to 86, and is a partial after 86. Intimate days, work based on 260-day year. And some of that could be people who may work for, what's that, FEMA. They don't always work. They work for any disaster or only doing certain days. Any breaks in service up to 3 days, your military service, deposit, and redeposit. That last one is so important because many people, you may have been in the service for 4 years, 6 years, 10. You may have was in the government, left, took out your money. It's very important you know what you need to pay back. Or you may have been part-time or in school and you didn't pay into the system. If that is you and you have not paid back, it's important today that you contact your human resources department. Know what your number is, because the longer you wait, the higher the interest is charged. So your number is a number. Without paying it back, it goes up because you're paying interest on that deposit, redeposit. So make sure you get that done. We're coming down to a stretch. I'm going to give you guys some examples. And of course, here is your sick leave. I'm going to go through this quick. So let's assume you have 1102 hours of sick leave at the end of your retirement time. What's important to know is that equates to 6 months and 10 days of service. So let's assume you got 29 years and 8 months. You cannot use this 6 months to get your 30. The government needs you to give them their 30 years of service or their 20 years of service or whatever it is for you. You have to give them their time, and you can add this time onto it. They will give you the 6 months, and the 10 days is just excluded. But don't know that sometimes those 10 days can be added to some of your days of working, and they can still create another month of retirement for you. So let's compute CSRS employees. CSRS employees, we know that your base for 30 years of service, if you look on the chart on the right, your base for 30 years of service is 56.25%. So if you work 30 years, your base percentage for retirement would be 56.25. As you get older, and as you stay longer in the service, of course, we will be older too. But the max you can get is 80%, which is 41 and 11 months. So let's take you an average employee. Your average income is $80,000. You have worked 30 years, and that's going to give you a percentage of 56.25. That gives you a total check for $45,000 a year, which is $3,750 a month. And that is your gross check. That is prior to any taxes, health care, or any other deductions that you may have coming out of your check. But it's $3,750. Now, if you are a special provision employee, remember you can only have to work 30 years. And you will get 2.5 for the first 20 years, and then you'll get 2% for every year after. So for 25 years, that's 60%. At $80 per $1,000, your retirement check will be $48,000, which is $4,000 a month. And of course, you will receive cost of living adjustments prior to age 62 if they have one. So that is what it is for your computation. Let's look here at FERS. So let's assume a FERS employee, you got the same amount of time, your same salary, but you get 1% for every year that you work. So if you work 30 years, you're going to get 30%. If you work 40 years, you're going to get 40%. So in this case, you work 30 years, $80,000. You're going to get $24,000 a year, which equates to $2,000 a month. That's prior to any deductions, any survivor annuity. You want to leave your spouse a check. It's prior to any taxes. Your gross check would be $2,000. Now, let me make this clear here. If you are age 62 and have at least 20 years of service, FERS employees are entitled to an additional 10% of the one. So you'll get 1.1%. So you have the same amount of years, you have the same salary, but because you have the age of 62 and at least 20 years, you're going to get 1.1%, which equates to $26,400 for the year, $2,200. And many people think, what's $200? But $200 for many of us could be a cell phone bill, your water bill, it could be your grocery, it could be your fund money. So you should, really weigh it. If you're very close to 62, it may make sense for you to stay a little longer, because that's an extra $200 would cost of living a month for the rest of your life. And if you're a special provision FERS employee for those 25 years of service, as you can see, you get 1.7% up to the first 20 years, and then 1% for any years over 20. So in this case of 25 years, it equated to 39%. So your check would be $31,200 for a total of $2,600 a month. So you get more money because you decided to take a job that has more risk. And so you deserve a little bit more because you're willing to go into the fire, you're willing to have to use your gun, you're flying plane. So because of that risk, you are entitled to not have to work as long, and your retirement check is longer. Here's a comparison between CSRS and FERS. People always want to know what's best. And you can look here, you can't really compare this, but you can compare. When I say compare, if you look on the chart for someone with 30 years of service, they have $80,000, their check is $3,750. If they have a spouse that they love and want to leave them a full check, their check would be $33.98, and they would be paying to the government for survivor annuity premium $352. And if you come down to FERS employees get real distressed when they see this, because theirs is only $2,000. That's a difference of $1,750. But you have to remember that this is only one stream of your retirement income. Yours is 3 tiers. So this is your first tier. You also have a Social Security tier. And of course, you have thrift saving, whether you pay into it or not. So of course, for you, that same $80,000 is $2,000 a month, $1,800 if you want to leave your spouse a full check. And what your spouse would get on a FERS case would be 50% of your full. So they would get $1,000 at your death, while you get $1,800 while you're living. That difference of $200 is what's paying for them to receive the $1,000. Of course, there's some people who look at maybe doing a pension max with that $200 to avoid giving it back. But make sure you sit down with someone, give us a call so that you make sure you do the right thing. All righty, that is it for today. This is our information when you can contact us. We have our address, our office number, fax number, the website, and of course, any information. Because we're not doing it live, we don't have a chat box. Send us any questions to info@yourabsolutionsinc.com. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time. Coffee break.